We're still keeping our focus on the face-off between the police and the National Assembly, and joining us on Sunrise Daily to discuss that is Mr. Femi Falana, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the show at this time. But now that the Senate has declared the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, as an enemy of democracy, is there a moral justification, do you think, that the Senate can rely on to call him as such?
Well, the Senate is entitled, with profound respect to its own opinion. The legislators can say anything within the precinct, the ambit of the chambers. You cannot challenge them. You can sue them. You understand me? So, but I think it's not about morality. We're dealing with law. We're dealing with the Constitution. And this is not the first time this unfortunate incident will occur in our country. Unfortunately, this time around, the Senate didn't get it right.
Are you saying the Senate doesn't have the constitutional powers to ask the Inspector General of Police to appear before it?
With profound respect, we have to look at the Constitution. And I have made this point over and over again. By virtue of Section 67 of the Constitution, specifically Section 67, subsection 2, the National Assembly, or either chambers, can summon a minister when the affairs of his or her ministry are under consideration. The only other occasion that a public officer can be summoned by the National Assembly is when proceedings are ongoing to expose corruption, Section 88 of the Constitution, and when a law is being debated, either with a view to amending it or to have a new law entirely, you can summon any public officer to provide information with respect to that law, lawmaking exercise. But there is no such power given to the National Assembly by the Constitution to summon everybody. I recall last year, Professor Sage, Isejuwa Sage, the chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, made a statement which the Senate considered derogatory. And therefore, there was a huge debate in the Senate that he was going to be summoned. Professor Sage contacted me to rush to court to challenge the powers of the Senate to summon him. We had already prepared the papers. When it did occur to us, why don't you do a letter to the National Assembly so that the impression is not given that he was trying to use the court to checkmate what they regarded as their powers. So we did a polite letter, which Professor Sage, endorsed, signed, beautiful letter saying, sorry, these are the limits of your powers. Even though you have debated and resolved that you are going to summon me, if I get the summons, I'm going to sue you on these grounds. You are not conducting an inquiry with respect to corruption. You are not engaged in any lawmaking exercise. Therefore, you cannot summon me. Furthermore, I have freedom of expression. If you feel offended, any of you, by what I have said, you sue for libel. And that is the law. In fairness to the Senate leadership, the matter was allowed to die a natural death. And that was the end of the matter. On several occasions, editors have been summoned since the Second Republic, and they have had to go to court.
Does the Senate have the power to summon the president?
No.
The Senate doesn't have the power to summon the president of the Federal Republic?
No. Section 67, subsection 1, has given the president the discretion to address the National Assembly, either jointly or separately, on any matter of national importance. That's by the president. The president or the governor of a state cannot be summoned. And that is the Constitution. So, the National Assembly has my sympathy. But what can be done a constitutional review is ongoing, you can deal with this lacunae or the gaps you have identified. But don't go outside the limits of your powers. When you do that, you ridicule the institution. And that is what is going on. Well, how can you summon? There was a time, a judge, I think the chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal was summoned over the trial of the Senate President. And they came out to say, no, you can't summon a judge who is performing a judicial function. Now, you say the IG should come, apart from killings in the country, it should come and justify while one of your members, Senator Dino Melaye, has been brutalized. Even though I condemned the arraignment of the senator on a stretcher in both Abuja and Lokoja Magistrate Courts. But I did make it clear to the National Assembly, please, don't individualize problems of police brutality. When you do that, you lose public support. It's the height of hypocrisy to say, oh, because the police have brutalized our member, therefore the IG must come. What of thousands of Nigerians that are brutalized daily? And so that was why I just wrote a letter 2 days ago to the president of the Senate. I copied the speaker. Please, you can use Senator Dino Melaye's predicament to examine the law and adopt the United Nations standards, a minimum standard for the treatment of criminal suspects and prisoners in our country, otherwise known as the Nelson Mandela rules. I've sent that letter to them. But don't single out the harassment of your member to summon the IG or a minister. But no.
Even though that's not the only case.
No, I'm just saying. Mr. Falana, you know, that was where they lost it. You shouldn't have mixed the two. But with respect to the killings, I am saying, as far as that constitution is concerned, the person to summon is the Minister of Interior and the Attorney General. And they have the powers to do that. Killings are going on.
So the Minister of Interior and the Attorney General can be summoned by the Senate?
By Section 67, subsection 2. But there's no provision for summoning IG, for summoning customs boss to appear in one uniform or the other, to summon Professor Sage. No, it's not there.
Why is it that the ministers can be summoned, but these other heads of institutions cannot? Is it because they are somewhat...
They are under those authorities. For instance, assuming the IG goes there, right? Or killings are going on. Why haven't they stopped? He can only give information with respect to what the Nigerian Police Force is doing. What of the State Security Service involved in the killings, in following up on the killings? Intelligence agencies, the Nigerian Army is involved, or the armed forces are involved in curbing the violence going on in different parts of the country. The appropriate person to do that would be the Minister of Interior. We are told that foreigners are coming to the country. The IG cannot answer any question.